meeting, and so that's the kind of shape I'm in. I don't know, you've been through a whole morning of classes and whatnot. So look, this is going to be a little different. So there should be some slides. These slides should be up on Blackboard. And in looking at these, however, over the weekend, I decided that I didn't really like them, and so there's going to be a mixture of those slides and the real way. And I've been teaching nervous system anatomy and physiology for 50 years, and it turns out that a really good way to learn stuff is to draw it. And so I may draw some things on the board, and if you want to draw them there, it's probably a pretty good idea to do that. So the field of neuroanatomy is a field that has pretty much disappeared, and that's probably a good thing, because the deal now is to know how anatomy relates to physiology and to function. And so if I point out any structure and don't tell you what it does, raise your hand, all right, and kind of keep me honest, because in fact we do know the function of every structure that I'm going to show you, and I think it makes the anatomy stick. As Dr. Haas said, you sort of need to know where things are and what connects to what, and in every one of those introductions that you see, you're going to hear this again, and I'm going to say a few things that Dr. Haas said, and this is the way you learn neuroscience. It's a recursive kind of thing, and each time something gets repeated, it's in a different context, but in fact, it's really the only way that you can learn it, and so I mean, this is what we're dealing with here. Okay, so this is actually I think this says a comprehensive chart of neural connections, and this is about 1930, I would say. Okay, and so we're dealing with a very complicated system, and that doesn't mean it really isn't impossible to deal with, because we're going to deal with it a piece at a time, and we're going to start out with a little bit of terminology, which is just absolutely necessary because a lot of the work that you're going to read about and see comes from animal research, and there's some terminology that is a little different from animals to people, and we need to get that straightened out first. But even before that, I'm going to make a homework assignment for Wednesday, and that is that I would like you to I'm going to ask somebody on Wednesday how you know you are here. How you know you are yourself. And so here's a problem that hasn't been solved in neuroscience. And in fact, it's not a philosophical problem, because in fact there are people with during epilepsy seizures who actually do not feel as though they are themselves. They actually feel as though they are away from themselves and can see themselves. And there are drugs that I hope you haven't found yet. Unlikely as that may be, but anyway, there are drugs that in fact are dissociative drugs that are like that. And so that's kind of an existence proof of the fact that knowing you are yourself is not just automatic. It's actually generated by your nervous system, and so right here at the beginning of this course, I'd like you just to spend 10 or 15 minutes thinking about how it is that you are yourself. All right, having gotten past that, let's do a little bit of terminology very quickly, and then we'll get into some more interesting things, because terminology is not terribly interesting. So if we have a person here, and I'm a terrible artist, and so anything that I can draw, I assure you can draw. And so if we have a person here, this is a neck, and this is a head, and this is a body. See what I mean? And this is a foot, okay? And so this person is looking in this direction. We'll put a nose on it there. Okay, so this person is looking in this direction, all right? And so things that are going in this direction in people are called anterior. And things that are going in the other direction are called posterior. And so things that you find, I can't spell either. And so things that you find that are sort of back here are going to be called posterior this, and things that you find up here in the nervous system are going to be called anterior this. Okay, so some piece of the brain up here is going to be called anterior, and some piece of the brain is going to be called posterior, and we'll give some little bit of body of that to the spinal cord, and so this is going to be anterior spinal cord, posterior spinal cord. However, an awful lot of research has been done on animals that look like this, and so okay, all right. See, you can draw. So all right. So in the case of animals, this is called dorsal, and this is called ventral, and this is called anterior often, and this is called posterior often. But the big difference is that things that are called anterior in people, or any animal that stands on its hind legs, on people, or this is that direction, whereas anterior in this case is sort of like this. So something that's anterior here is going to be ventral here. Okay, sorry about this. This is just terribly boring, but in fact, especially those of you who are thinking of going into medicine, are going to be dealing with all the time with this, and now that neuroscience has become tremendously translational. You're going to hear a lot more from basic neuroscientists about biped animals. Okay, so thank heavens that's over, and now I'm going to do something very different. I'm going to start. Yeah. I'm sorry.
What about the last axis? Is the third coordinate?
So medial lateral. Yep. Okay. Right. So we have a person here like this with a nose and a neck and a body and arms and legs, and so this is lateral like this, and anything that is and things that are sort of close to the midline, okay, are medial. Thank you. Right. Okay, so now we have all the and in this case it really is pretty much the same. So things in this direction would be lateral, and things that are sort of along the midline are going to be medial. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to start with a punchline. I'm going to start with the end of the lecture, and I'm going to start talking about the spinal cord. So one of the reasons we talk about the spinal cord is that the spinal cord has stayed pretty much the same. Your spinal cord looks pretty much like a monkey. Spinal cord looks pretty much like a cat, like a rat, like a mouse. And so all mammals have a spinal cord that has the same basic functions and the same basic structure. And so we're going to start out by drawing a cross section of through any mammal's spinal cord, just a cut right through the middle. And so everybody needs to learn how to draw a spinal cord. And so we draw a spinal cord like this. And we have a spinal cord. Okay, so this is a cross section of the spinal cord, and this down here is ventral, and this up here is dorsal. So things that are happening up here are going to be called the dorsal so-and-so, and things that are down here are going to be called the ventral so-and-so. Things that enter the spinal cord up here are going to be called the dorsal something or others, and things that come out this part of the spinal cord are going to be called the ventral such and such. Okay, so we'll look at some real pictures both today and then what I'm going to do on Wednesday is that I'm going to link up to the M-scope system at the medical school, which has a set of really nice microscope slides which have been digitized from something like this down to 40x, very high power, and we'll do some exploring of some of those slides as well. But today we'll deal with my terrible drawings and maybe a couple of other drawings. Now, so